start with a Shanti mantra from the Upanishads. This is on page 46 of this book, Universal Prayers. The second one on that page. The English is on page 47. Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravir maedhi vedasya manistha shrutam me ma prahasi anena adhitena ahoratran sandadhami Kritam vadishyami, satyam vadishyami, tanmamavatu, tadvaktaramavatu, avatumam, avatu vaktaram, om shanti shanti shanti. Om. May my speech be established in the mind. May my mind be fixed in my speech. O self-manifested Atman, please manifest yourself to me. O my mind and speech, may you be fit to reveal unto me the highest knowledge. May I not forget what I have heard. Without forgetting what I have learned, may I be able to study day and night. The right will I speak. The truth will I speak. May Brahman protect me. May Brahman protect the preceptor. May Brahman protect me. May Brahman protect the preceptor. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. Adi Bhautika Shanti. May there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Daivika Shanti. Last time we were studying sloka number 25. Now we continue with start from sloka 26 in 9th chapter. This is one of the most interesting and important verses in chapter 9. There Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, when you do any kind of worship, the one most important element is devotion. Other things such as how many things we offer, which mantras we chant, Vedic mantras or Puranic style puja, different style paddhatis are there. Those things are secondary. Main thing that the Lord looks for in our worship is our devotion. If devotion is there, other kinds of whatever we offer, how much we offer, those are not very important. That verse is very important. Let me chant that verse 26. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktya ashnami prayatatmanaha. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Patra means a leaf. Pushpa means flower. Phalam means fruit. Toyam means water. Whatever a devotee offers, bhaktya prayachati, with devotion. The main element is devotion. Other details can vary. Sometimes we do only simple panchopachara puja, 5 items. Gandha, pushpa, dhupa, deepa, naivedyam. Sometimes if we have time and facilities, we can do Dashopachara puja, 10 items. Sometimes here when you do special puja on special occasions, we do 16 items, Shodashopachara puja. On very special occasions in temples, they do 64 item puja, Chatushashti Upachara puja. That means that includes many different things. It includes taking the deity in a procession around the city in a chariot, or taking the deity in a chariot in a procession on the horseback or back of an elephant. All those things, music and dance are included. Vedic chanting is included. Those are very detailed pujas. Then on special occasions in temples. At home, we cannot do 64-item puja. Those are all important to some extent. But the one thing that the Lord looks for when you do worship is our devotion. It is said, Bhavagrahi Janardanaha. The Lord looks for our devotion, bhava in our heart. If that is there, other things don't matter. Tadaham, that means whatever we offer, that puja, bhakti upahritam, bhaktya upahritam, with offered with devotion, prayata atmanaha, with effort, somebody with devotion offers anything, even a spoonful of water, or a bilwa leaf or a tulsi leaf or whatever is available. Bhakti Paradam Ashnami, I will receive them. He receives our worship. Whatever simple things we offer, he receives. If it is offered with devotion, he's only looking for devotion in our hearts. I just remembered this morning the story of a Shaiva saint from Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, they had 63 Thayanmars, and one of them was Kannappa. He was a hunter. So the story is quite detailed. I'll condense it. In a forest, there was a Shiva temple. Shiva Linga was there, and this hunter went there, and nobody had offered anything to the Shiva. There was a priest who would come and offer periodically, but when Kannappa went, there was nothing. So this hunter did not know how to do worship. There was a Brahmin priest, but somehow he was not there, whatever. So this hunter offered worship in his own way. He did not know the procedure, mantra, or vidhi, or anything. He had devotion. So he brought some water in his mouth. There was no container, patram, anything. He poured it on the Shivalinga. He plucked some wildflowers, offered it there. He had some meat. He's a hunter. He offered it to the Shiva and went away. Next time when he went, he noticed something different. In the Shiva, the Linga, there were two eyes. One of the eyes was bleeding. Blood was coming out. So Kannappa thought, oh, Shiva's eye is not working. I should offer my eye. So he took one of his eyes with his knife and offered it to Shiva in the place of the bleeding eye, and that got fixed there. Shiva accepted it. Then not only one eye. Next day when he went, the other eye was also bleeding. Then Kannappa said, no, I should offer another eye also. One eye is not enough. So he was almost about to take out his second eye also. Then how would he put it? If he took out a second eye, how would he see where to put the second eye? So with his foot, he kept his foot where the second eye was, bleeding eye was, and then was about to take out his eye and offer it. At that time, Lord Shiva came, appeared personally, blessed him, restored his eyes, and blessed him. He became known as a Kannappa saint. In Kannada, we call Bedara Kannappa. Beda means a hunter. Hunter Kannappa, one of the great Shiva saints of Tamil Nadu. So he didn't know what any kind of worship procedure. He did not know any mantra. He didn't know what to offer. Whatever he offered, some meat and some water he carried in his mouth, that the Lord accepted because devotion was there. So this is what this verse says. Whatever a devotee offers with devotion, doesn't matter what it is or how it is offered. Mantra and all those details are important to some extent, but main point is devotion. Bhaktya apahritam, whatever is offered, patram pushpam halam toyam, tad ashnami, that I am going to accept. So in ritualistic worship, devotion is the main component. If that is missing, however much detailed the offerings may be, it does not amount to much. Then the next verse is the key word. I will say this is a 5-star verse in the Gita, 927. 927. Yeah, 26, 27. This is a very important verse, and it has come before this topic. It will come again. So this means, in this verse, Bhagavan says, whatever you do, offer it to me. Any work that we do, we should offer to God as our offering. Earlier, we have discussed various attitudes towards work. Offering everything to God is something that everybody can do. Offering means mentally. Physically, we cannot offer anything to God. How can we physically offer anything to God? For example, every morning some people offer water offering, arghya to the sun, Lord. Divinity in the sun. Sun is 93 million away. How can we offer anything to him in a physical way? It is establishing a mental connection. In our heart, we have to have devotion. So we offer Surya Arghya Pradhanam. During our special puja, here also we offer Surya Arghya Pradhanam. Like that, Chetasa. Chetasa Sarva Karmani Mahesanyasya Matparaha. That comes in the 18th chapter. We'll study that later. Mentally, we have to offer everything that we do to God. But everything means we should not do anything illegal, immoral. Nishedha karma we should not do and say I'm offering to God. That won't work. That is the first rule. We should give up all nishedha karma. Only pure activities, niyata karma. That too, karma without sankalpa. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman chaktva surva nasheshatah. That came in the 16th chapter. Without expecting any personal benefit for oneself, whatever duty one has to do, that has to be done and as an offering to the Lord. So let me chant this verse 27. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yajjuhoshi dadasi yat yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushamadarpanam. Kaunteya Arjuna, Bhagavan is saying, Yat karoshi, whatever you do. Karoshi means whatever you do. For example, he gives some examples of things that we do every day. First example he gives is yadashnasi, whatever you eat. When we eat, we should first offer it to the Lord. And then we should eat as prasada. In the gospel, you read about this Girish Chandra Ghosh. Girish Chandra Ghosh was had the habit of drinking and other bad habits. So Sri Ramakrishna did not ask him to stop drinking. It would not ever. He could not stop drinking cold turkey, as they say, gradually. So what Sri Ramakrishna said to him was, when you drink, you offer it to the Divine Mother. That's the instruction he gave to Girish Chandra Ghosh. But Girish Chandra Ghosh gradually began asking himself, how can he offer this to Divine Mother? We should offer good thing Divine Mother. So over a period of time, that habit gradually came down. So anything that we do, we should offer to God. Adeshnasi, whatever we eat, before we eat, we should say a prayer. The tradition is there in almost all the religions, saying a prayer before eating. In our tradition, we say the Gayatri Mantra, some parts of India. In northern India, some places, they chant the whole 15th chapter of the Gita before eating. In some monasteries, whole 15th chapter. Or some people do Brahmarpanam. Swami Vivekananda's tradition, in our Ramakrishna tradition, we say this verse number 424 that you know, before we eat. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi. Everything is Brahman. The eater is Brahman, the food offered is Brahman, the act of offering is Brahman. One who meditates on thus in this way on Brahman, seeing Brahman in everything, he reaches Brahman. That sloka we chant. Somewhere we have to do some prayer. The Christians say the Lord's Prayer or some other prayer before they start eating. They say the grace. So yadashnasi, whatever we eat, that should be offered first to the Lord. And then we accept it as prasad. Offering should be done. Yadashnasi. Some people, before they eat, they take out a small portion, a handful of whatever rice or whatever they are eating, and they keep it aside. And that is, then they eat. Then that food kept aside is offered to the animals, birds and squirrels will come and eat that food. That is Bhutarana. That you have discussed before. Pancharana we have talked about before. Yadashnasi Yajjohoshi Homa. Homa means any kind of austerity. These Brahma Samaj people, Arya Samaj people, they do Gayatri Homa every day. Sometimes twice a day. When any Homa is done, it is to be done as an offering to the Lord. Everything should be done as an offering to the Lord. Yajjohoshi Dadasiyat. Dadas means whatever you give in charity. It may be a small thing. It may be a meal for a hungry person, or something that you offer to the hungry dog or any animal, or when you pour some water to a drying plant which needs water. Anything that we offer need not be very big. Dadasiyat, whatever we offer should be offered to the Lord first, because He is present in everything. It is to Him that we offer. Even if we give to somebody as a person, we are actually giving to the Lord. Yajjohoshi dadasiyat yat tapasyasi. Tapas. In the 17th chapter, we are going to study 3 kinds of tapas. Tapas means austerities. Bodily austerities, shariram karma. Then speech austerities, parmayam karma. And mind austerities, manomayam karma. Those will go into austerity, tapas, manomayam tapas. We study later in the 17th chapter. Whatever type of austerity that we do, some people do fasting on every Monday or fasting on Ekadashi day. These are all different kinds of austerities. Whatever austerity you do, offer it to me. Tatpurusha madarpanam. So everything should be offered to God. Kauntaya tatpurusha madarpanam. Do it as an offering to me. So this habit of offering everything to God, everything that we do to God as our offering is a very important discipline. We should try to practice it whenever we do anything. Even when you do a class like this one, it's an act of offering to the divine. Everything should be done as an offering to the divine. That is the instruction in this verse, and we have to remember it every time. And every time we do something, we have to remember that one. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yajjohoshi dadasiyat. Yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurusha madarpanam. This actually has come before in the 3rd chapter. If you remember, chapter 3, verse 30. There, Bhagavan Sri Krishna gives the same instruction. He says, Maya sarvani karmani sanyasya tadjatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudyasva vigatadvara. 5 instructions are given in 3rd chapter that we studied earlier. So we have to connect that one. Maya sarvani karmani sanyasya. All activities offering to me, dedicating to me. We'll come again in the 18th chapter. How to offer. In a physical sense, you can't offer anything to God. You can offer it to somebody or some persons or some animal or plants. We can offer, but to God, how to offer? Chetasa, mentally. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha. 18th chapter, verse 57. We will study that later. So this offering everything to God should be practiced. Then you go to the verse number 28. There Bhagavan explains what is the benefit of this offering, why we should offer everything to God. Not that He needs. When you offer something to God, it's not to fulfill His need. He doesn't have any need. He's the Lord of the whole universe. What does He need from us? He does not depend upon a little almond or raisin or something, banana we offer in puja. It's not to fulfill, not that He is waiting hungry, not to fulfill His need. It is for us to practice unselfishness, detachment. Offering means expression of love, practice of detachment. For example, somebody comes to your home, visitor, friend, somebody comes. Then you offer a cup of tea. Then offering that cup of tea is done not because that person is waiting for the cup of tea. He can have his own cup of tea, any number of cups of tea in his own place. But you are expressing your joy, your happiness, your gratitude for him because he has taken the time to come visit you in your home. This is a favor. The Lord Himself comes in the form of everybody. Whoever comes, whoever it may be, when somebody comes, we should think that the Lord Himself is coming in the form of that person. So give this little cup of tea to express your joy and gratitude. You are very happy that He chose to came to your home. Whenever we do something with somebody or to somebody, we should remember that we are offering it to the Lord. Why? Because He is present in everyone, everything that we have seen before will come again in several places. And chapter 6, verse 30, we studied Yogamam Pashyati Sarvatra Sarvam Chamai Pashyati. That sloka, he who sees the Lord in everyone and everything, and he who sees everything in me, to such a person am I never lost. All that person is always in constant communion with the divine, never separated from the Lord. If you see, try to see God in everything, practicing the presence of God, as Brother Lawrence did. So that is what is expected here. By doing that, we are practicing unselfishness, and we are trying to practice, express our devotion to the Lord by offering everything to the Lord. Not that He needs what we offer. He doesn't need anything, the Lord. So when we do this offering, what happens? That we become free from attachment to the karma and the karma phala both. Because karma itself is a bondage, binds us, and karma phala also binds us. We become free from both of these. That freedom from karma bandhana is what happens when we offer all karma to the Lord. Not that He needs our karma. We become free from attachment to karma, karma phala. That frees us from that bondage. That is explained in verse number 28. Shubha shubha phalairevam mokshase karma bandhanai sanyasa yoga yuktatma vimukto mamupaisyasi. Here the Bhagavan is saying, one becomes free from the bondage, attachment to the fruits of karma. Shubha Shubha Phala. Shubha means auspicious or good result. When we do something, some good result will come. Ashubha means not so good. Any kind of result may come. Later in the 18th chapter, we're going to study, whenever you do any action, one or more of three kinds of results will come, inevitably. There Bhagavan says, Anishtam, chapter 18, verse 12. Anishtam, ishtam, mishram cha, trividham karmana phalam. When you do any karma by thought, word, or speech, then what happens is we get result inevitably. Karma means karma phala will inevitably come. We can't escape, except in this way, by offering everything to God. So what kind of results will come? Sometimes the result is shubha. It is auspicious, good, something that we like, agreeable result will come. Ishtam means something that we like will come as a result. Sometimes something that we don't like, disagreeable outcome will also come. Anishtam, ishtam. Generally what happens, there is mixture of these two will happen. Anishtam, ishtam, mishram. Mishram means some part of the result will be something that we like. Some part of the result will be something that we don't want to have, that we don't like. That's what usually happens. Combination of anishta, ishta will come. Rarely do we get only good result without any negative side effect. Rarely do we get only bad result. Generally, whatever we do, it's a mix. The outcome is a mixture of some good aspect and some bad aspect. That's our experience. We become free from these three kinds of fruits of action when we dedicate all actions to the Lord. That's what he is going to say in verse number 28. Shubha Shubha Phalaihi. Phala means the fruit of action. Shubha Ashubha, it can be. Karma Bandhanahi, by the bondage, from the bondage of action. Action itself is a bondage. It binds us because it brings result. And the result will be attached to it, and it necessitates us to do more karma, and we'll get stuck in the cycle of karma, karma phala, karma, karma phala. If you want to break that cycle, find an exit from that loop, karma phala loop, then you have to offer everything to the Lord mentally. Moksha se karma bandhanai. You will become free from karma bandhana, from the bondage of work. Sannyasa yoga yukta atma. A person who practices sannyasa yoga. How can sannyasa yoga both occur? Sannyasa means giving up renunciation. Yoga means performing action. When a person performs action as an offering, then he's doing both sannyasa and yoga. Doing karma is yoga. Offering, dedicating all karma to the Lord is sannyasa. A person who practices sannyasa yoga, that means who dedicates all actions to the Lord, sannyasa yoga yukta atma, vimuktaha, he becomes free from the bondage of work and result of work. Then what happens? Mam upaishyasi, you will reach me. Here in the commentary, Shankara says, you become free from the fruits of action in this life, you'll not be bound. And when this life ends, at the end of this life, when the body drops off, you will come to me. Patiteja asmin sharire, when this body falls, that means when death comes, Mam upaishyasi amagamishyasi, you will come to me. Until then, we become free, like Jivan Mukta. We are still living to work out our prarabdha karma as long as it lasts, but then we are not bound during the rest of that period of that life. We live like Jivan Mukta, free from all bondages. We cut out all bondages, karma. Those are the main things. Other bondages are attachment to people, attachment to the work that we do, attachment to our property, possession. Those have to be given up also. Those also we can dedicate to the Lord. It's all not mine, it is His. I'm only a temporary caretaker. This property is in my possession for some time only. It's really His property, not mine. I'm a caretaker, I'm a servant, I'm a manager, I'm a house sitter. Like that we should think. We are not the owners. That is the way to give attachment to property, possessions and everything. About people, we become attached to people also. Then we should think of them as children of God. They have come to play some role in my life for some time. This connection is not permanent. I should treat them with love and respect because they are children of God. The Lord Himself has come in the form of the people into my life to play some role in my life. So in that way, if we see everything as God or sent by God, then we will become free from attachment. Not mine, but thine, O Lord. That should be our constant refrain in our mind. Not mine, but thine. And whenever we feel like saying my work, my job, my money, my child, my house, we should think, no, not mine. Conversation, we can say mine for convenience. I sometimes give this example. I have a room upstairs. Swami Atmagyanji has very kindly given me a room to stay in. I refer to it as my room. I sometimes say to Kumar, oh, my Gita book is on my table like that. I say my room. But when I say my room, I know 100% it's not my room. I didn't build it. I don't own it. I have nothing to do with it. By the grace of God, I've been given opportunity to stay in that room. In a conversation, I can say my room, my book, like etc. Like in the Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna says, the maidservant in his master's house refers to her work as his children as her children. My Rama, my Hari. The Rama, Hari are the master's children, not her children. But she refers to them as my Rama, my Hari. My garden, my kitchen. She says, not her kitchen. She was only there as a maidservant for some period of time. Someday she has to go back to her own place in the village. That way we can say mine in conversation. Otherwise, it will be a very stilted expression. Otherwise, the room in which I live. So that is not very convenient. So I can say mine, but in my mind, we should say not mine, but his. Vimuktaha, we become free from attachment, from karma phala. Then what happens? When the patite asmin sharire, when this body ends, stops functioning, when death comes, mam upaishyasi or agamishyasi, you come to me, the Lord is saying. That is liberation, krama mukti. Now we go to verse number 29. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayite teshu chapyaham. Sarvabhuteshu, let me read the translation here. Towards all beings, I am the same. I hate none, nor hold any dear. Those who worship me with devotion live in me and I in them. Sarvabhuteshu aham samaha. I am same towards all beings. God has no partiality. It is, His grace is available to everybody all the time, without any variation. But the difference is our ability to catch His grace, receive His grace. This can be explained in this. Sri Ramakrishna explained this in with this parable, with this example. Supposing there is a lake, and many sailboats are sailing there, and the breeze is blowing. The breeze is blowing available to everybody. But some people, most people unfurl their sails, and the sails catch the breeze and the boat moves forward. But if you keep the sails rolled up, then breeze will be there, but the sailor won't be able to catch the breeze. He will not be able to move. So we have to open ourselves up to the grace of the Lord by opening our hearts to Him, by being devoted to Him, serving Him through all our activities. Then we experience the grace. Grace is available to everyone. But if you close our sails, roll up our sails, we don't be able to catch the breeze. So it's up to us. The Lord Himself is impartial. His grace is available to everyone at all times in the same way. Samoham sarvabhuteshu. He's not partial towards some. Name dveshyaha asti, name priyaha asti. To me, there is no one whom I hate, and there is no one whom I especially favor. To me, everybody is same. Everyone is the child of God. In everyone, He is present in the same way. We'll see that in chapter 13, verse number 27. There, that verse is very important. Swami Vivekananda quoted that verse in one of his lectures. There, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, verse number 27 in chapter 13. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyatsu avinashyantam yah pashyati sapashyati. Sarveshu bhuteshu samam tishtantam parameshwaram. The Parameshwara Supreme Lord is present in the same way, samam, not more in some, less than others. Samam tishtantam parameshwaram. One who sees, yaha pashyati sa pashyati. Vinashyatsu avinashyantam. Vinashyat means the perishable containers. The body's minds are perishable. In the perishable containers, body, mind, he is avinashi. Vinashyatsu avinashyantam. One who sees, he sees. So if you see the presence of God in everyone and everything, including inanimate objects, plants and animals, and nature, all of nature, in river, in ocean, in mountain, in trees and everything. That's why Hindus worship everything. If you worship trees, you worship animals. Other people have difficulty understanding it. Why do you worship an animal or a tree and say you are worshiping God? Because we see God in all these things. There's no place, there's nothing in which He is not present. He is samam. In the same way, He is present. Samam. Name dveshyosti na priyaha. There's nobody specially whom He favors. There's no one whom He hates. His grace is available to everyone, to all people at all times in the same way. But some people who open themselves up to receive His grace will receive His grace to the maximum extent. Otherwise, some people say there is no such thing as God. Why to waste time worshipping God? There is nothing. They assert like that. There are people like that. We don't want to worry about them because it is their problem. To them, they don't feel the grace of God. The devotees feel the grace of God. Ye bhajanti mam bhaktya, ye mam bhaktya bhajanti, those who worship me with devotion, mayite teshu chapi aham. I am in them and they are in me. That means there is no separation. Elsewhere, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Jnani tu atma me matam. In 7th chapter, we studied that. Jnani and the divine the Lord is no difference. They are one and the same. Actually, it is the same for everybody also. But Jnani experiences oneness with the divine. But we have a little bit separation. I am the worshipper, I am the devotee of God. God is separate from me. I am a child of God. He is my father. He is my father. That bhava, one of the 5 bhavas we practice, that is very good for us at this stage. But later on, the separation will disappear and one feels oneness with the divine. That's at a higher stage. Te mayite, they are in me. Teshu chapyaham, I am also in them. Those who worship me with devotion, bhajanti mam bhaktya bhajanti. Those who worship me with devotion, I am never separate from them. He is always one with us. He is with us all the time. In this book, that Swami Chetanand recently published, it is Sri Sarada Devi and their divine play. In that book, there is a small segment. One of the Swamis, her disciples, Holy Mother, I forgot the name of this Swami. And there was a conversation between Holy Mother and that young Swami. Holy Mother said to that Swami that Sri Ramakrishna is carrying you all the time, even now. The Swami said, I don't feel any such special that Sri Ramakrishna is carrying me. Is it true? Can he carry me? Maybe he will come at the time of death and guide me on. That I have heard. I believe in that. But he is carrying me now. Emphatically, she said, yes. He is carrying you even this moment in this body. She said that. So the Lord is always there with us. Whether we feel His presence in our life or not, that is love to us. If we are devoted to God, if we pray to God, then we feel His presence in our life. Every moment He is there in our life. Actually, as Holy Mother said, He is carrying us with Him even now. But I don't feel that He is carrying me. But that is my problem. I have to open myself up to His grace. Then I feel how to feel the presence of God in our life. Theoretically, I know God is with me all the time, 24 hours, protecting me. But if I have to feel His presence tangibly, experience His presence, then we have to do intense prayer. In one place, a couple of places, Holy Mother said, if you pray with great intensity to the Lord, you will feel His presence. We'll feel we are making spiritual progress, we are approaching God. To be able for us to feel that, even if I take the name of God once, some progress will be there. Infinitesimal, small progress. We don't feel that one, so small. But if I take the name of God, Holy Mother said, 10 to 15,000 times a day, then you can tangibly actually feel God's presence. That much intense prayer we should do. Some people can do that. Holy Mother herself did 100,000 japa every day, every morning, in addition to all her other chores. She was living in Ahmedabad, there no facility was there. There was no running water tap, there was no electricity, nothing, very small room. But she lived there, and in addition to all the work that she was doing, she did 100,000 japa. Not for herself, but for all the other people, she would do japa. And Swami, if we talk about japa, the record is held by Swami Virajananda. Swami Virajananda got mantra diksha from Holy Mother, sannyasa from Swamiji, Swami Vivekananda. At one time, when he was a young monk, he had joined, but his health became very poor. He had health problems. Then Holy Mother said, you go home, stay with your parents for some time, recover your health, then you can come back. So he went home to stay with his parents. At that time, he kind of isolated himself from the rest of the family. His father and mother knew his nature, so they didn't disturb him. He would lock himself up in his room, and do constant japa almost all the time. At one time, at the peak of his practice, he was able to do 125,000 repetitions in one 24-hour period. More than what Holy Mother used to do. For a short time, he did that. So this is written in his biography. Swami Shraddhananda Ji was in Sacramento. He wrote Swami Vivekananda's biography. The book is called The Story of an Epoch. In that book, in introduction, this is written that he could do 125,000 japa a day. When I read that one, I said, how can anybody in 24 hours can do that many repetitions of japa? So I asked Swami Shraddhananda Ji, this is written in your book. He said, yes, he could do. So he was a sevak, Swami Shraddhananda. So that is how we have to intensely pray to God all the time, round the clock. Then we can feel his presence, his place in our life. Yes, he is carrying me all the time. We experience his presence in our life all the time. Now we have to try to practice devotion, pray for his grace, and try to feel his presence by seeing the presence of God in all and everything that we encounter every day in our daily life, including inanimate objects. Sometimes we don't pay attention to animals or plants, or even less attention we pay to inanimate objects. I tell you an incident. In the Holy Mother's household in Jairambati, the floors were not cement or carpet. No such thing was there. We have vacuum cleaners and carpet. It's a different story. It was all mud floor covered with cow dung. That's how floors used to be. A floor covering. Cow dung was the floor covering. And one day, a lady member for a house, she swept the floor using a broom. In India, we have broomstick. We sweep like this and collect all the mud and they put it in the street in front of their house. This is what happens in some parts of India. And what happens, that's not their problem. They don't have any awareness of environmental protection or anything. So this lady swept the floor, and after sweeping the floor, she carelessly threw this broom away someplace. Instead of keeping it in its proper place, assigned place. Holy Mother was watching this one. Then Holy Mother called that lady and said, here, look here. It takes the same time to keep it in the broom in the assigned place, in its assigned place. You carelessly threw it away. When you need it next time, then you will have to search in the whole place. Where is the broom? Where is the broom? Where is the broom? If you keep it in its assigned place, you can easily find it where it is, always there. So you should not do like that one. Treat the broom gently, because Holy Mother said, because the broom is as much a member of this family as you and I are. That's what it means here. We have to treat every object, animate, inanimate, people, animals, plant, good people, bad people, seeing the presence of God in them, but carefully. In the 5th chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, treat everybody alike. The best human being at one end of the spectrum, and the worst human being and all the animals in between. 5:18, chapter 5, verse 18. There Bhagavan says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. Samadarshitva means same-sightedness. Looking upon everybody and everything alike, seeing divine presence in everybody and everything. So that we studied in the 5th chapter. In that way, Bhagavan is treating us all alike, bestowing grace upon us all alike. No one with a special favor, no one whom he dislikes. But it depends upon the individual. It is left to us to feel his presence by being devoted to him, by offering all the work that we do, and by chanting his name, constantly. Ye bhajanti tamam bhaktya. Those who worship me with devotion, mayite, they are in me. Yeshu chapi aham, I am also in them. So to feel that oneness with him, to tangibly feel his presence in our lives all the time, we have to do intense prayer, as Holy Mother said. There is another way to explain this one. In the Shankara's commentary, Shankara says, supposing there is a fireplace is there in the sitting room, and fire is there, fire is burning, gas fire or wooden logs, whatever. Those who are sitting close to the fireplace, they feel the warmth more. Those who are sitting far away from the fireplace, they don't feel much warmth. The fire is there. It's producing same amount of fire. It does not make any difference. Fire does not say I will give more heat to the people whom I like and less heat to people who don't. Fire does not do that one. The same way, the Lord is there, bestowing grace upon everybody. Those who feel close to him, those who are devoted to him, those who live close to him, they feel the God's grace tangibly in their life. Those who are far away from him, they don't want to worship him, they have no devotion to God. They also receive the grace of God, but they don't feel it that much. It's very little they experience. So that explain that comment example Shankaracharya gives here. Durasthanam yatha agnihi shitam na upanayati. Durastha means those who are staying far away from the agni, from the fire. They don't feel the warmth that much. Samipam upasarpatam upanayati. Those who are samipa, those who are staying close to the fire, agni, they feel the warmth more. So we have to be close to God. How to be close to God? Not in the physical, he is present everywhere. Not in a physical sense, but mentally, devotion. If you are devoted to God, we become close to him. That's when we feel his grace tangibly. He himself has no partiality. Name dveshosti na priyaha. Oh, next verse is very interesting. Very encouraging to many people. Here, verse number 30, Bhagavan says, even if a person has lived very bad kind of life, doing bad things, such a person also can become a Mahatma in a very short time of practicing devotion. So let's do verse number 30. Apicher suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavyaha samyak vyavasito hisaha. We'll do 31 also together. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. This last phrase, name bhakta pranashyati, we should remember. A devotee of God never perishes. That does not mean he will have everything smooth and nice. There will be problems and suffering in the devotee's life also. That is our prarabdha karma, we have to go through that. But we will have the grace of God. He will give us the strength to bear the difficulties, make it easy for us. So verse number 30, apichet sudarachara. Achara means conduct. Durachara means bad conduct. Sudarachara means very bad conduct. For example, Girish Chandra Bose, he was doing all kinds of things, drinking and other bad habits he had. But when he got the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, became devoted to him, the rest of his life became gradually better and better and became a very sattvic person. Apiche Sudara Achara, even if a person has lived with bad conduct, has been doing bad things, Sudara Achara, Mam Ananya Bhak Bhajate. Mam Bhajate. If that person worships me, the Lord is speaking. The person worships me, then what happens? Ananya Bhak. How to worship? Without any second thought. Matparaha, Matparayanaha. Elsewhere Sri Krishna says. making God the central, most important thing in a person's life. You have so many things in your life. An ordinary person has a family, wife, children, husband, children, parents, job, property, etc. They're all important. You can't give up anything. But placing God at the top of everything, mat paraha, making me supreme thing in the life, supreme entity in my life. We should make God the one and most important thing in our life. Other things are important, we have to take care of them, but they'll come later. Ananya bhatma bhajate, without thinking of other things, wasting time thinking about other activities, useless thoughts. Mam bhajate, one who worships me, saha, such a person, sadhuraiva mantavyaha, should be considered as a sadhu. Even if he has been a person of very bad conduct, sudracharaha api. Sadhuraiva samantavyaha, because saha samyak devastitaha. Because that person is now chosen to live in the proper way, going in the proper direction. Samyak Vyavasita, established in the right path. There is another person like Girish Chandra Ghosh, his friend actually, Kalipada Ghosh. Kalipada Ghosh was also Girish's friend. They were probably drinking buddies, it seems like that. So Girish Chandra Ghosh used to go to see Ramakrishna. One day, he told his friend, Kalipada Ghosh, I'm going to Dakshineshwar to see a Mahatma. Do you like to come? Kalipada had not heard about him or anything. He said, yeah, I will go with you. Kalipada said. So they both entered Sri Ramakrishna's room. When Kalipada and Girish entered Sri Ramakrishna's room, Sri Ramakrishna was standing and lost in samadhi. Totally. Kalipada thought, this man must have taken something very strong. He was a drinking person. He thought like that. What kind of drink has he taken that he has become so inebriated, stoned, as some people say? Then he asked him, Kalipada asked, sir, what have you taken that has made you so intoxicated, inebriated? Is it British made? He asked him. Kalipada asked him if it is British made. No, Sri Ramakrishna, no, it's not. It is home, not British, but it's homemade. Do you want? Yes, yes, I want that one. Please give me that which you have taken, by which I can remain like that, intoxicated only that. Kalipada said, you really want that one? Sri Ramakrishna asked. He said, yes. Sri Ramakrishna touched him. Just one touch like this. Immediately, Kalipada Ghosh started crying, sobbing. Could not stop crying. One moment, transformation happened. Kalipada Ghosh, who was like Girish Chandra Ghosh, his friend, one touch was all it was necessary to bring about this total transformation, immediate moment, in a moment, everything changed. He became a great devotee. He used to visit Sri Ramakrishna. And Kalipada's story is very interesting. I'll only tell you only one thing, interesting thing. One day, he went to see Sri Ramakrishna alone in a boat. Kalipada went. In Sri Ramakrishna's room, he was there, and Swami Adbhutananda, Latu Maharaj was there. Two people were there. So when they were talking about this, Sri Ramakrishna said, I was thinking of going to Calcutta this afternoon. He used to go to Calcutta to devotees' home, Balaram Bosa's home, and other homes for satsang every now and then. He casually mentioned, I was thinking. Immediately Kalipada said, sir, I have a boat already waiting for me. I will rented a boat, you can go with me. Sri Ramakrishna said, yes, I can go with you. So Sri Ramakrishna, Kalipada Ghosh, and Latu Maharaj, they have all the three entered the boat. Just before the boatman started rowing, Kalipada whispered something in the boatman's ears. Sri Ramakrishna did not know what he was saying to the boatman. So they went halfway. When the boat reached the middle of the river, suddenly the boat stopped going. It began circling. It was not moving forward to the other shore or other bank of the river. Sri Ramakrishna asked him, what's the matter? Why are you not going forward? Then Kalipada caught hold of both Sri Ramakrishna's feet and then said, unless you bless me, I won't, the boat will not go forward. I already blessed you, given you everything. Earlier, Sri Ramakrishna had written a mantra in Kalipada Ghosh's tongue. That means constantly a mantra was going on in his mind. That you had granted already. What more can I give you? I've given you everything that I can give. No, 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 you have to give me a special blessing. Please leave my feet, Baba, let us go. Why are you wasting time in the middle of the river? No, 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 you have to bless me. He was very adamant. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, well, yeah, tell me what kind of blessing you want. Kalipada said, I have done so many bad things in my life. And at the time of my death, I'll be in total darkness. Now, I want you to come to me at the time of my death. I want you to come holding a lamp in your left hand, and with your right hand, you should hold my hand and lead me onward. If you promise that, I will leave your feet. Yes, yes, Baba, I will do that, Baba. Sri Ramakrishna agreed. Then he left his feet, then asked boatman to go forward. That promise he extracted. That is tamasic bhakti. Bhakti can be sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. This tamasic bhakti, if you don't do this one, I will not leave. Like that one. We are the sattvic that we don't have the strength to do that one. I can't say that to Sri Ramakrishna. I would say, oh Lord, please bless me. Like humbly we have to pray. But tamasic bhakti. So Sri Ramakrishna did that. Exactly it happened. In the meantime, Sri Ramakrishna passed away. And Kalipada was still living. When Kalipada's time of departure came, exactly that's what happened. Sri Ramakrishna came with his right hand, he caught hold of Kalipada's hand and led him forward. Kalipada's hand was like this. So that is one kind of devotion. So, Samyak Vyavasi, even if a person like Kalipada has been leading a very bad kind of life, apiche sudaracharaha, Mam yo bhajate, yo mam bhajati, saha samyak vyavasitaha. The person who worships and has devotion to God, bhajate mam ananya bhag, praise to God, such a person should be considered as a Mahatma. Sadhureva samantavi, he should be thought of as a Mahatma. And samyak vyavasita, why? Because he is established in the right track. From this time onward, forwards, this moment onwards, forward, is leading the life in the proper direction. That Kalipada did. Next verse, 31. Such a person, Kshipram bhavati, dharmatma bhavati. Kshipram means quickly. In a very short period of time, such a person becomes a Mahatma. Kshipram bhavati, dharmatma he will become. Shashvat shantim nigachati. Permanent, lasting peace he will get. Kaunteya, O Arjuna, Pratijanihi, proclaim, promise, declaration, declare. Pratijanihi, Name Bhakta Pranashyati. My devotee shall never perish. My devotee shall never perish. That is a very famous, very important assurance from the Lord. That came before also, earlier also. Yogakshemam Mahamyaham, like that one. If you are devoted to God, we are safe in every way. He is going to take care of us all the time in every possible way. Kshipramavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigachati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. We will stop there. Name bhakta pranashyati is something we have to remember. Devotion to God, protected in every way. Now we have a couple of minutes for questions from your audience. We also have some live audience here today. Our center is opening up. So if you have any comment you want to make and add something, you're welcome to me. Indranil, what's happening?
Pranam Swamiji, I was late. I'm fine.
Yeah. Don't worry. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. You're already a dharmatma. You don't have to become one. You're already one. Very good.
Swamiji, the name you said of the disciple of Holy Mother, it is Swami Arupananda.
Arupananda, yeah, I forgot it. Arupananda. Thank you.
You had told us it's page 622.
622, yes, I remember. Yes. Page 622, Holy Mother and the Divine Swartha Devi in the Divine Play. Page 622, Swami's name is Arupananda, who asked, is Swami Sri Ramakrishna carrying me even now? She said, yes, yes, he is carrying. We are not aware of it. We can become aware of His presence in our life, but we have to do intense prayer. Very nice. Thank you. Case 622. Padma is participating from Europe somewhere. Very good. Anything else? If not, shall we say the closing prayer? Devi?
Yes.
Yes, Swami.
Okay. Closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavanta Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from diseases and other problems. May there be harmony and no ill will amongst all the beings. May no one be subject to any kind of suffering. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. Adi Bhautika Shanti. May there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Daivika Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Rama Krishnarpanamastu. Thank you all and stay well, and God willing, we'll meet you. See you next week.
Thank you.